Hi everyone, welcome to the LiveTiles Reach demo. My name is Nick Ramick. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at LiveTiles. Today I'm joined with Jason Alessi, who is our product specialist. And Jason, I'm going to ask you the question. Tell us essentially, what is LiveTiles Reach?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on here. So essentially, LiveTiles Reach is our multi-geo SaaS application with an emphasis on mobile-first users. Is a corporate comms tool, and as a cloud and mobile application, Reach makes communicating with an entire workforce really easy.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I'm an internal comms professional, and I'm going to stand in their shoes for a second. And like many of my peers, I work across a fairly fragmented workforce in terms of business applications, digital platforms, etc. So how does LiveTiles Reach make it easy for me to create top-down news, and also when I want to target specific groups?
Yeah, so as you can see here, we're in the cloud application, so we're accessed through the browser, and we are opened up on the news feature or the news module. And you'll see down the left-hand side there, we have all these channels. This allows us to be much more targeted with our news, as you would expect in a modern comms platform. And you can see here I'm immediately met with my news. So as a logged-in user, I have a roll-up of news tied to all the channels that I'm subscribed to, whether they are by choice or whether they're mandatory. This is how I can receive my news as an employee, or really as anyone that's as a part of an organization that I need that top-down news communication. As you can see here, the UI is very clean and very easy to navigate through. So being mobile first, whether as you can see, I'm using the desktop app, but whether I'm at the desk or I'm on the go, I can pull this up on my mobile too. And I'll quickly jump into mobile view. You can see here we've got optimization for that mobile device, whether I'm using for, on my phone, whether I'm using on a tablet. The experience doesn't differ, and we are really emphasizing that communication with an entire workforce. You'll notice the standard functionality of being able to comment and like and share news. So that's instilling that collaboration and the sharing of content and news throughout an organization, as well as being able to, consume that at a company or organization level as well. It's very focused on imagery and video and being able to create creative news, so just not boring text announcements with slabs of text. The editor or the canvas that we have for creating news really allows for building on-brand news as well. And you'll see here if no, let's actually just create an article from scratch instead of editing an existing one. So it's all dependent on the permissions that you have been given in the platform. So whether you're an administrator or an author, that will allow you to create news based on groups that you're in. Now, groups will actually control the channels that you have access to, and we'll touch on that later in this recording. And then I can also have editor permissions, so I can edit existing articles and news, or I'm a straight reader, so I'm just there to consume the news as an end user. But if you do have permissions, you'll have the managed news, and you'll see here a roll-up of all the news that's been published below that red line. Anything that's sitting in a draft status will be above the red line. So as you can take away from that, we have a full publishing routine too as well. So approvals, being able to schedule news, that's all part of the platform too. When I click create news, you'll see there's a few different groups that I can publish to. And just like I mentioned, those groups have different channels tied to them. But ultimately, I will just publish something to the old company channel. You'll see here the editor is very much displaying in the way that I read the news before. So banner or video at the top of the article, and then below the body, the metadata, everything like that follows. I have a few options in how I want to actually build out my imagery, my styling of the news. I can just upload a straight image or video or GIF from my computer. I can use the Unsplash service. Unsplash is a free image service where we have direct integration, allows you to pick hundreds, probably thousands of different images from their library, insert directly. And even our latest integration is the Canva offering. So most of the viewers out there are probably familiar with Canva now. We have integration for both the free account and the premium account. Obviously, the permissions is on the Canva end. With the free account, you just have less options in the assets that you can use. But you can design directly in Canva, and then input the image will be imported directly into your news article. But we can just upload something directly from my desktop. So as we run through here, I need to remember where I've put that. Okay, let's just take one of the pre-built images. This was something I built in Canva previously. But everything here you would expect for news publishing. So article, abstracts, very important publishing settings. So again, choosing channels to publish to. This gives us the ability to be very targeted and specific in who and where we're pushing this news out to. So very important to structure your channels accordingly. Changing the authors or adding on behalf of. So again, something like an example may be an executive assistant writing a CEO update on behalf of the CEO. So they could leave their account and put the CEO on behalf of. And of course, publishing dates, allowing us the ability to schedule in advance. Some other great features as well, adding keywords, so allowing for that searchability. Adding a poll into the news as well. So if you're trying to capture feedback from your audience, we can enter polls with multiple questions here. Ask for read confirmation. Really important, because if we're actually looking at it from a compliance point of view and we want readers to acknowledge that they have read, we ask for that confirmation. That will actually sit itself at the top of everyone's news feed on the channel that it's been posted to, and it will stay like that until they have clicked confirm. We also have the same sort of functionality, but rather an alert. And an alert will actually do the same, but mark it as red. And again, sit itself at the top of everyone's newsfeed in that channel. And you should set a duration for that alert so that it can drop off after the time expiry, as well as we can have it delete as well. And of course, the ability to add the social element too. So liking, commenting on articles, instilling that collaboration, getting people talking. That's where we talk about not the top-down news, but I guess bottom-up and side to side. So we're having peers collaborate with each other based on comms that's been pushed out from the top level of the company.
Great. Actually, a good segue there, Jace. I was actually my next question was going to be around the bottom-up comms and the side-to-side comms. Absolutely critical for an engaged workforce to have that collective conversation going. Tell me a little bit more about that and its capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So another module within the Reach application is posts. And it basically is exactly as the name suggests, is a message board allowing for any user that's onboarded into the application to come in here. They can post an image, they can post a video. Using the paperclip, we can upload any of the information. Now, it's not as detailed as you would expect from news, but that's not really the point. The point is it's just for quick pulses, collaborating around the business, throwing up something cool. It could be completely informal. You see here, on the existing board, it's just sharing knowledge, sharing, information around the company, allowing others to come in and comment. They can again, socializing, as well as, that trusty bell icon and being able to follow certain posts too. If you're engaged in a really good conversation with someone across the other side of the world, stay informed and keep that very informal communication going through the post message board.
Fantastic. Okay, so that looks really simple. I want you to talk to me about more structured knowledge. So things like policies and procedures, manuals, knowledge bases. What can it do in terms of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the core features of Reach is the Pages module. So being able to create that really structured knowledge. So we're talking things like knowledge bases, policies and procedures, manuals, training manuals, anything where I need to go to and almost use in type of like a catalog form or a table of contents form where I can follow structured knowledge through a very rigid and formatted way. And you'll see here, just in the simple consumer view or read view, I've got these categories set up. In this instance, we've got HR covered from an employee handbook point of view to a product knowledge base, and that could be, a vast range of products. It could be manuals and configuration documents for machinery on the floor. I could be a frontline worker in a factory. So I'm out on the floor. I'm not at a desk, but the ability to use a tablet or a phone and quickly pull up some specs on a certain machine I'm working on. That really cuts down on the toing and froing, going back to the office, looking it up, maybe having to print it off, go back down where I'm at the machine, pending safety rules and using devices on the floor. I can quickly pull up that information in real time and consume it while I'm right there at the machine. So really straightforward. Again, just wanted to show that in mobile view what it looks like. You can see here, user experience is optimized. I can use the green icon to actually pull up table of contents as well. So if I wanted to dig down further into these categories, I can. You'll see here under IT policies, I have a hierarchy or a structure set up. And that's just digging down further. So obviously, IT policies is a broad category or a broad term. There's definitely going to be subcategories and then streams of policies underneath that. So that's where we create that structured knowledge from. In terms of providing that information to the users. So that is the view from an end user. Again, it's very much the same as an author or a contributor, where I would create that information. You see I have the ability again to view by groups. So this application is set up to be all company, exec team, and then external users. So we will touch on this again later in the recording, but it's not just focused on your company, your employees, your users. It is very much set up to cater for externals as well. So onboarding for externals is huge, hence why we have a separate channel there where we need to communicate to those users that outside the organization, like I mentioned before, subcontractors, partners, customers, clients, that sort of stuff. So this is now in the management view as an administrator and author. You can see I'm actually drilling down the hierarchy, so I can create this tree of content that's really structured and very simple to create information again too. So if I wanted to create a new document here, let's just call it data retention new, for example. I probably wouldn't do that. I would just update the old one. But for argument's sake, just highlighting how quickly we can create this information. Again, same editor, same layout. I have the ability to still upload content from my computer, Unsplash, Canva. I can upload videos, everything I need to here to add this content, whether adding it to the body section, images, videos, documents. So being able to embed documents as well, inserting contents. I can roll onto subpages, you name it. Everything that I need to create a really structured, well-formed knowledge base or instructional content, whatever it may be. This has got it all. And I also still have access to the table of contents, so I can follow this as I'm actually building too. So very handy.
Fantastic. This is looking great, Jace. What I love about just a little comment here is that everyone's a first-class citizen on this platform, so everyone's getting the same experience. There's no annexation effect for frontline workers where they get a very simplified pared back experience compared to those on full licenses. This is great. There's a real, egalitarian spirit about it, which is, for me as an internal comms person, I would greatly value. Tell me about people data and people search. How easy is it for me to reach others across this platform?
Yeah, very easy. And it's quite a common, request, or, how do I find someone else on the platform? How do I create a contact list? How do I, chat to others, or just find other people? So again, inbuilt people search, it is based on all the onboarded users, both internal, external, it doesn't matter. We can actually search for people. And it will bring up, basic profile information. So if we're talking internal, and we have synced to our Azure Active Directory, again, we'll touch on this a little bit later, but really quick way of onboarding, we'll pull that data from their profile. As you can see there, I can expand Betty's information here. Now, really handy on mobile, because if I need to chat to Betty really quickly, let's bring mobile view back up. I can just hit that email or launch my Outlook on my phone or whatever mail client I'm using, hit mobile, and it will start calling. Or ultimately, I can just add her to my contact list and create more of a, social, phone list or contact list for myself. So I'm not always having to search those people. And typically you would do that with the common people that you interact with. So those from your department or your team or anything like that. But in terms of importance here, very important and very, very simple, but it is what it is what it is, and what you see is what you get. Very straightforward.
Okay, great. So in terms of the people, how do I, as an internal comms pro, know that this platform is successful in that it engages people? How do I know people are using it?
Yeah. So as an administrator, this is definitely an administrative option here. We're running analytics and metrics across the platform, over weekly and monthly. So we can track user activity. Now, it's not down to the specific user itself. It's more broad, how is the platform or how's the application being used? So, if I have 100 onboarded users or employees, how many are active? And we can use all the eyes here to get more information about that. So, how many active over the last week? How many active over the last month? You would probably see a trend here based on, if we are frequent users of Reach and we're constantly posting new stuff, new content, you probably should see a really, high active engagement, versus if there's no use, you're going to have really low engagement, right? So, really important to understand that from an activity perspective. And then here, users by language. So this is a multi-language application, so we support for multi-languages. LiveTiles is a global company. We have global customers. And so multi-language is very important for us and for our customers. And of course, views by app type. So what's the percentage of my users across mobile versus the web app? We'll touch on some other modes of application use as well. And also, how's the news being consumed? So we're publishing all this news. Are people reading it? How many news articles have we published? What's the frequency? How many in the last month? How many broken down by week? You'll have to excuse the low publishing rate here. This is as is demo environment, but for a fully fledged in production, it's live. You would expect to see high numbers from a communications point of view, and then a breakdown of average readers per article, likes, that sort of stuff. So if it's really low, but you're posting quite a lot, you would start to question the quality of your posts. Maybe you could try some new things like adding better imagery, using that Canva integration, making it more creative, more interactive, maybe using that poll functionality. So requesting insight from your users, making it more engaging, and then tracking more of that social. So commenting, how many comments are we having, who's bookmarking, and how many readers are we having per week? We want to know, how many of you are actually reading this stuff? So really good to understand, is the way we're using Reach working for our users?
Fabulous. Okay, so I'm looking at that settings tab to the left there, and I'm wondering what kind of goodies sit under the settings section. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So again, obviously an administrative task here, but this is the bones, the gears, the nuts and bolts of Reach. So when we talk structured, targeted users, this is where it's all set up. So we've got the groups here that we mentioned before, and then on those groupings, we actually assign channels and permissions. So let's take a look at all company, for example. This is everyone. We want everyone in this group. We put all the relevant channels in this group. And we set up the user permissions. So you'll see here you've got Billy and Ava are both administrators, and then everyone else is just a reader. So they're the only two that actually can post to this group. Now, if I wanted to add a different level of permissions, let's say I could add Kieran to this group. I'm hoping there's a Kieran. There is a Kieran. And I can actually add editor if I wanted to. Now, I mentioned earlier before, editor can actually come in and edit those articles. So that is to, I guess, lighten the load and spread it across multiple. So if you had a comms team that was in charge of curating all the communications for the organization, you could spread that load, or you might choose to go down the other route and actually assign users or employees from every department. You're in control of managing your own comms from your point of view. And then you would set your groups up differently. You would have groups per department and so on. So once you've set the permissions up, you can actually then go and configure the channels. So what channels do they have access to write to? And that spans over 3 different categories. It's what are available, so they're not actually applied to new content by default. The default channel, if set, so here you see all company. When I create a new article, by default, all company is selected, but I can deselect it. And mandatory means basically it's stuck on that channel. If I post something to the all company group, then all company is the channel. It can't be changed. Once we have the group set, we need to probably before setting the groups, we need to actually set the channels. So very simple to set these channels, and all it is add a channel, give it a name, and basic new channel name here, nothing fancy. Once I've saved that, I can then actually go configure language translation, and we'll touch on this soon as it's another feature from settings. But I've got my channel set up, and then I go plug it into my groups. Channels can be mandatory. They can be, free subbed. They can be have notifications turned on and off again. That's all based on the profile preferences, which we'll show briefly soon. But how do I get users into the platform? How do I actually onboard everyone? You'll see up here, if I'm a Microsoft customer, I've probably got Azure Active Directory, and I just want to get everyone in. I don't want to have to send out new invitations or anything like that. I can actually create a directory sync, and that will automatically onboard users to the application. Then it's just as a matter of that user going to the app for the first time and using their Microsoft 365 credentials to log in. That will onboard that user. Won't touch on users because that's pretty straightforward. Owners. You're basically setting who's an administrator, who's not of the platform. So now we've actually got the users onboarded from an internal point of view, but we have some partners, we've got some clients, we've got some customers that we also want to bring into the platform too. They're not on our directory, so they haven't come in through the sync. How do I get them in? Really nifty feature is the self-registration. So I don't want to sit here and send invitations manually one by one to hundreds, potentially maybe even thousands of people. So I can set up a self-registration link, and that self-registration link can be unique to your instance or your environment of Reach. And once that's set up, you can actually send it out and have users register and onboard themselves. And like you saw before, there was a group for external users. Once they're onboarded, I set up that group and have them added into that group. So they're not a part of any of the internal comms that comes through. Not if you want them to, they definitely can be. But keeping them separate, and we have a separate group with a separate team of users, authors, administrators who will actually create that content and publish it to those external users. So when we talk about communicating to an entire workforce, it's not just your organization or your company workforce, but it can be, if I'm a building company, I have a big project that we've taken on. I've hired all these other subcontracting companies to take on parts of the project. I would onboard those users as I need to communicate with those, and I would create the channels and the groups accordingly for those subcontracting companies. Languages, said we touch on it, very super simple again. Add the language. Once it's added, it means that when you create news, you can add that language tab and you can actually write that article in that language. So if I had an article that was needed to be written in English, Danish, and Italian, I would create the article once, create the content for that article 3 times for those 3 languages, and that allows users to read it in any of those languages, but also being able to use the inbuilt language translation, which we'll touch on right after this customization piece, which is widely used because it allows you to custom brand your Reach application. So I can use custom coloring. You see here we've got the purple and the green. That's inputted using the color picker, giving my subscription a unique name. So LiveTiles Global here, whatever you want to name yours, giving it a handle, and that is appending to the back end of your URL, giving you a unique ID for your environment, as well as uploading your own logo. So very straightforward, but makes it feel more like your application, specific to you. Now, I'll roll this into settings as well, is profile preferences. And that is controlling my preferred UI language. So how do I want the UI to present in terms of language? And we support quite a lot of, we only support a few for the UI, but for preferred content, we provide a lot. And that is basically allowing me to translate an article to my preferred language automatically. So it doesn't matter if it wasn't written in that language, this will automatically translate it, and I'll jump into that in a sec. And notification settings. So control how I receive my notifications, whether I've been alerted to a piece of news, whether it was a page that went up, a post, whatever it may be. I got mentioned, whatever else, I can control if it comes through mobile, email, or you'll see there Microsoft Teams, which we'll talk about soon. So how does language translation work? Very simple. I'm going to jump into an article very soon when this loads. Here we go. Now, it is written in Danish. I think it is also actually written in Italian as well. But I don't speak any of those languages. I understand Italian a little bit, but I actually just want to read it in English. Now, because English is set to my preferred language on my profile, I can automatically translate it. So highly effective language translation in the app itself.
Fantastic. That's great, Jace. Okay, so look, getting towards the end here, I've got one more question. Everything's about integrations these days. Is there capacity to integrate LiveTiles Reach with other platforms?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is big on the agenda now. Everyone wants integrations. What do we offer in terms of integrations? Our biggest offering in integrations with LiveTiles Reach is probably our Microsoft Teams app. You'll see here, I actually have changed screens here. I am now in Microsoft Teams, and you'll see the experience is almost identical. We have the application added to the sidebar. It is available from the Teams App Store. And you'll see here I have the same options or modules available. So I still have my news, my posts, my pages, my events, my settings. All those settings is relevant for Teams. And this is focused for the reader, the end user, and for news creation, authoring, editing, that sort of stuff. All the back-end admin type stuff is still required to do from the app itself. But this opens up a whole new world. If I'm a heavy Microsoft Teams reader, I don't have to have another app for communications. I can actually bring the communications to me into Teams, and you'll see it functions the exact same way. So navigation and options are, reconfigured and posted differently, but I still have my pencil to edit news, create news. I still have my language translation, everything like that. I still have my posts and my pages now in Teams, accessible from the sidebar. Also works in the Teams mobile application too. So I now have my corporate comms, my news publishing, my scheduling, my structured content, knowledge, as well as all the other benefits that Teams brings too. So very tight integration. Probably our biggest integration. When we're talking integration with other LiveTiles products, you'll see here under people, we have now integrated LiveTiles directory. So we've actually removed the out-of-the-box functionality for people in Reach, and we now have brought in the directory search capability, which for those directory customers out there, very familiar for you guys, bringing in the profiles. All of the core functionality that directory does is brought in from the search, the profile management, and the org chart functionality. So let's see if this brings this up. You'll see under manage profile, I have a 1, and that is because my profile through directory is suggesting that I'm missing an attribute. So now if you want to unite the worlds of your profile management and the user profile management, as well as your corporate comms, you definitely can. And again, that's one less app. If I find myself spending a lot of time in Reach, I can now have access to the profile. The search is much more in depth. So I can search based off any attributes across the profiles now rather than just the name. I have all the extra sorting and filtering. I also have the org chart. So I can actually view the org chart now, which is structured based on the directory technology on who your manager is. So click on Ava Gray. She reports to Phil because Phil Jackson is the manager, and that dynamically built org chart is now available through LiveTiles Reach. Definitely other avenues of integration as well through the LiveTiles intranet products. We have ability to bring news through into those web parts. So whether you're looking at LiveTiles Intranet Enterprise, LiveTiles Intranet Hub, we can bring that news in web part form. We also have an API that allows us to integrate Reach with thousands of other apps out there. So custom integration as well to those third-party applications is definitely doable too.
Well, thank you, Jace. That was a very comprehensive overview of LiveTiles Reach. Fantastic. Now, for everyone watching this, if you'd like to get your hands on this, if you'd like to do a customized, personalized demo, please fill out the form below. Also, if you would like to trial it in your as a platform for your organization, we are more than happy to set that up for you and get your hands on it. Just fill out that form below, and we'll be in touch ASAP and make that happen for you. So thanks again for watching. Thank you, Jason, and we'll speak to you next time.